Since 1983, FAME has helped business and education work for Maine. Contact the authority, the Finance Authority of Maine. You're watching Mainebiz Sunday, Maine's business news source.
In early June, Paul LePage, general manager of Martin's and mayor of Waterville, surged to victory in Republican primary. Since then, the polls have shown him leading the gubernatorial race. Today, we'll ask him questions about those concerns that business communities have for Maine. Welcome. Glad you could be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Once again, it's a short show, as I've mentioned to you. We only have a half hour, so we got a lot to cover. We're going to jump right in. What's your overall assessment of the economy and the business climate in Maine? Just generally speaking, where do you see us at?
Well, as a businessman in Maine for my adult life, I don't see it very good. I don't have very good feel for what's going on. The last 3 years have been very difficult, and we see it in our business just by the types of purchases being made in retail. Retail, and as I visit around the state, what little manufacturing we have left, I find that people are squeezing and people are trying to save money and get more efficient, and they're looking for business. Okay. Everybody's out looking for business. So,
in terms of the economy, clearly we've been through a recession. Some think we're still in the recession. Depends on who you ask and what day it is, I guess. But what's your prediction? What do you? You really, as a business person, a major business with Martin's. You can kind of forecast where we're headed. I think. What do you think? Are we heading to a double dip?
I fear that we are. I fear that if the federal government does not get its fiscal house in order and get onto a fiscal, an austerity program, we are spending way more than we can afford. I believe 40% or better than 40% of every dollar spent on the federal government is borrowed money, and there comes a point where you have to pay that money back, and interest is going to become interest on the debt is going to become an issue. I'm very concerned at the federal level.
Okay, so you're thinking maybe even worse, and long sustained.
Right, and everything goes downhill, not uphill.
All right, I hear that. Also, in this general kind of question about your assessment of the economy, what do you base yours on? I love to ask candidates where they get their information, which economists do you listen to, what papers do you read, what magazines do you get your information from?
Well, in our case, we're a little different. We work with the Federal Reserve directly on a quarterly basis, and they interview us. Okay. Been doing it for several years, and we're somewhat of an indicator, being in this off-price surplus and salvage. They take a look at us and see how our business is going. And generally speaking, when the economy is in a downward turn, our business is on an upward turn. And the depth of this recession has even starting to affect us. We thought that we were recession-proof, but quite frankly, we're feeling the pinch as much as anyone else. And so when you ask, generally when we're feeling the pinch, the economy is robust at this point in time.
So if a discount retailer like you, and some are saying even Walmart now is starting to have some of those indicators as well, if they're starting to feel it, that's a major indicator as far as okay. A question I have for you is, what's the appropriate role for government and governor in terms of the encouraging and managing the economy and business in the state of Maine?
I think the true role, or the major role of a governor, is to create an attitude and an environment so the private sector can succeed. I believe that if a governor is doing a good job, he becomes a partner with everyone in our economic structure, be it nonprofit, profit, be in private sector, be in a quasi-public sector. I believe our role is to create an environment so that the private sector can prosper. Here in Maine, the average wage earner is at 80% of the national average. I believe a governor doing a good job should have us at 110, 120% of the national average, and I think that's my role and that's my goal.
So not just the national average, but above.
Average. The problem with being average is you're as close to the bottom as you are the top, right. And so I don't like the bottom.
Okay, good answer. We got some questions that were submitted to us through our Mainebiz Daily subscribers to get the online daily report. Maine does its government business in a certain way, and so do other states. What do you consider to be Maine's successes worthy of export, and what specific programs and successes from other states should we learn from?
Well, I think we ought to take a look at the state of Utah for our education system. They are well below the national average in spending, way above Maine in performance. I think we ought to look at Wisconsin on welfare reform. They implemented a program which I've been campaigning on back in 1986, and they've cut their welfare programs by 70%. So I think there's a lot of things we can learn from other states. In fact, that's what our founders wanted us to do. That's why we have states' rights.
As experiments.
As experiments, and the federal government should be taking from the states what works and ignore or shy away from what doesn't. And recently the federal government took on Obamacare, which is nothing more than an expansion a year ago, and that's been a failure.
Okay. I knew you were going to get into Deergo and Obamacare at some point here. Good job, by the way. Let me ask you one more question. You've been thinking a lot about this. Obviously, you want to run the state, want to be the government, and you have a lot of strong opinions. So which agency is the worst, and which one's the best? There's got to be something that's good.
I believe, I look at the agencies as who's leading them.
Okay.
Frankly, in my travels since last September, I'd say that the one that's the most respected out there is the Department of Agriculture. And there's a tie for the ones that are doing the poorest job, and I think that's the Education and Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay. You have thought about that. Good. All right. As I like to say, congratulations. If you're governor, you've just inherited $1 billion in debt, that is. So what are you going to do? How do you tackle that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is call Obama and ask him if he's got some spare change.
Stop with the Obama already. Come on. Okay.
But beyond that, I think that 80% of the state budget is in two major categories, DHHS and education. Education, I believe, is a foundation for the future of the state. We really need to make sure we graduate more than 80% of our kids. We need to make sure that we go from not being right now we're in the top third in spending and the bottom third in results. My role is to reverse that. Just reversing that in itself.
Well, stop there. And how do you do that?
How do you do that?
How can a governor do that?
How can a governor do that? Is propose voucher system and charter schools. And you specialize your charter schools to certain industries that you want to promote in the state. For instance, I believe some of our charter schools should have the base curriculum for English, math, science, civics. Notice history as well, which we've gotten away from in our state. And beyond that, I think we have to specialize. If we want to get in agriculture, you have some agriculture courses and introduce the kids to these industries. Lumbering's another one, fishing's another one. Hospitality is a big one.
We're going to wrap this first segment right here. We'll come back. We're going to talk more about education and, I don't know, maybe teachers' unions, things like that. We'll ask you about that in a minute, too. So stay with us. We'll be back with Paul LePage, Republican nominee for governor.
Mainebiz Sunday is brought to you by Bangor Savings Bank, where you can enjoy free ATMs worldwide.